All right, so welcome to the first day of winter, place in time, 12/21/20, page 55. Please make sure that you put in all that information, that you include all of that information. It's an interesting page. It's actually the last one of the fourth grade Amazing Word Power, and it's also quite challenging. The first word is the word latter. What's the word? Nice. Latter, which means the second of two things. So, for example, somebody offers you cauliflower or cupcakes. If you choose cupcakes, you would say, I choose the latter. I choose the second of two things or the last of those two things, all right? Someone might say, while I do like chocolate, I really prefer vanilla. I prefer the latter, okay? Summer or winter? I prefer the former, meaning the first, okay, which is the antonym for that. Latter, let's go. Latter, latter. First syllable, lat. Second syllable, ter, latter. And again, notice we divide the syllable by the double consonant. How do we mark this up? Underline the Now, interestingly enough, it does give you the etymology, and latter comes from an old English word meaning late, meaning the last or the second one, all right? Okay, the next word is the word anachronism. What's the word? Excellent, anachronism. And it means something that is out of its proper time. A classic example, you see this in movies, and you see this in books. Dinosaurs and human beings being together. That's an example of an anachronism. Anachronism. Okay, because they did not coexist together. They are out of their proper time. If you saw if you saw Beethoven with an electric guitar, that's again, the electric guitar is an anachronism. They just simply didn't exist at that time, okay? Someone dressing in clothes from the 1970s, those styles today, is again another example of anachronism, of what it is to be an anachronism. People simply don't dress that way anymore. The 70s, that's when it was. Nowadays, it would be out of its proper place of time and in time. Okay, anachronism, let's go. Anachronism. So let's go. We use ch, k, sh, acronism. Anachronism. The etymology is fascinating. Again, notice the word chronos, meaning time. And you could tell it's Greek anyway because the ch, k, sh has its second sound. K. Okay, so we have two things to mark up. Let's go. Underline the k, second sound. Underline the o. And third thing to mark up, second sound over here. Okay, the o can say o at the end of a syllable. That is rule 4. Excellent job. All right, I'm not exactly sure why there was an awkward pause, but the next word is the word novel. What's the word? You got it, novel. Okay, now there are two ways that we can use it, so it is a homograph. All right, the first way we're going to use it, since we're talking about place and time, is when something is novel, that means it's something new and unusual. A person can have a novel idea, a novel invention, a novel product, a novel style of doing something. All right. So, for example, it was the way the Wright brothers solved the mysteries of flying was novel. People were trying to invent the airplane, but theirs was new and unusual. At one time, the internet was considered to be novel. Very few people had it. Very few people knew about it. The other way that we could use the word novel is a story, all right, which we're talking about a book of fiction. Novel, okay? And I love the sentence, read a novel aloud. What a novel idea. Read a book out loud. What a new and unusual idea. Novel. Novel. So let's go. First syllable, nov. Second syllable, L. Novel. Think about the word novice. Even when you're a new or a beginner, I can see the newness, the idea of newness being connected to that. So we can use it more than one way. Excellent. It is a homograph. The next word is the word former. What's the word? Fantastic. Former. And that's the first of two things that you've been talking about. So, for example, if I have a choice between brownies and pie, I always get the former because I love chocolate, meaning the first. Former. Think FF. Same thing with latter and last. Okay? It does help that in that, in that regard. They are also antonyms. So latter is the antonym for former. Former is the antonym for latter. Former. So let's go. Former. We can use it more than one way, and we'll get to that in a second, but let's get to this. First syllable, for. Second syllable, mer. Former. The base word is form. When you look it up, you'll see. Okay, for the etymology, how do we mark this up? Underline the or and the or rather the root word, the base word. Now, the other way that we could use the word former is, for example, like a former friend, someone who you're no longer with or you're no longer associated with. My former country that I lived in, you're no longer there. My former apartment, you moved into a new apartment. That's where I formerly lived, okay? So we can use it more than one way. It is a homograph. Great way to think of the word former also is something that used to be but is no longer part of your life or no longer existing or whatever it happens to be. Okay? So the next word we are going to skip down to is the number 6. It's the word sequence. What's the word? Excellent. Sequence. It's the order in which things are done. All right? So whether it's a recipe or writing a story or reading a story, first you do this, next you do that, then after that you do this. The last thing that you do is this. The sequence, a sequence of events. Okay? The sequence of doing something. Okay, so let's go. Sequence. Sequence. Q and U stick like glue. We use k in the second syllable, all right? So let's go. Whoops. C, first syllable, C, second syllable, quence. Sequence. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 things to mark up. We're going to go in sequence. We're going to go in order. All right, so how do we mark this up? Underline the E, the Q, the C, and the silent E twice. Job number 3, but yes, rule 2. However, we are going to go in sequence. So the first rule is rule 4. And we did this last year, actually. Whoops. Rule 4. Second rule, rule 1. And the last rule, rule 2. Soft C when followed by Y, I, or E. And then the next word that is related to that is the word sequential. What's the word? Excellent, sequential. Now, even though it ends with a C, we're going to change it to a C. Change it to a T with the sh that starts with a tall letter. Why it does that, I'm not exactly sure. Okay, sequential simply means following in order. And I love this sentence. Oh no, I guess the steps were sequential. Now my cake is inedible. Yes, indeed. Okay, sequential. Let's go. Almost the same. Shall. The sh that starts with a tall letter. So let's go. Sequential. 1, 2, 3 things to mark up. So let's go. Underline the E, the Q, and the sh. Now, this is where it gets interesting. We have a rule 4. I'll let you do the repeats here. Okay, obviously we have rule 1 as well. But here's something interesting. Notice that it ends with a silent. Ends with a silent E. We drop the silent E. So that is rule 13. Okay, rule 13. And what do we do with these two words? Brace. And again, there's a terrific sentence over here for sequential. A, B, C, H, F, G, D, L, E, K, G. Hey, these letters are not sequential. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. That's better. And the last word, the WAD, is the word transform. What's the word? Excellent, transform. Think about the metamorphosis of a caterpillar to a butterfly, right? That's a terrific synonym, metamorphosis, change, alter. Okay, to convert, we'll get to more to those synonyms in a second. Transform, turning over a new leaf, transforming yourself in terms of attitude or the way you approach things. Transform. 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 First syllable. Trans. Second syllable. Form. Transform. We have 1, 2 things to mark up. Second sound, underline the or. Now, a very important thing when you look up the etymology, you're going to have to go to the Latin root trans, and then it's going to also say see form. All right, so let's go. Transform, sequence, sequential, former, novel. Just get this over here. Anachronism, latter. So let's check out some synonyms with the word latter, okay? Like the latter part of the movie was very boring. The latter part of many people's lives is that they retire, okay? Anyway, let's go. Latter, think of the word last or the second one, the final, the concluding one. The later one, it is a form of later. You can hear my landlord shoveling some snow in the back over here. All right, antonyms would be former, first, or initial. Anachronism, misplaced, misplaced in time, unsuitable, incorrect, out of place, awkward, old, behind the times, old-fashioned, extinct, dated. The best one I can say is incongruous. It means it just doesn't fit in. Inappropriate in one sense, okay? An antonym would be proper, befitting, or appropriate. Again, an anachronism would be, think about a typewriter. We just don't use that anymore. We don't use that. We have our keyboard. That's an electronic version. That's a technological advance in terms of the typewriter, but it's just incongruous at this time that somebody would use that. Novel, okay? Now, the word novel is unique, original, groundbreaking, unusual, fresh, innovative, unorthodox, creative. An antonym would be typical, common, ordinary, average, mediocre, which is probably the best antonym for this, all right? Old vocabulary word. Okay. Also uninspired or traditional. On the other hand, novel, a book, a story, a tale, a narrative, fiction. Okay? And an antonym would be nonfiction. Right? But getting back to what's new and what's fresh, think about the Wright brothers, Thomas Edison, right? Louis Pasteur, Edward Jenner, the vaccine, Mr. Plumbeam, the camel dances, doing something in a new and an unusual way, a unique sort of way. the idea of superheroes. They were heroes, they were fictional heroes, but no one had created a superhero until Superman had come along. It was new, it was novel, it was certainly original, new and unusual. All right? So now the word former. Okay? Former meaning first. Okay? Primary, initial, things like that. Let's see. Yeah, so I would say former, first, initial. Okay. Some antonyms would be latter or last, past, past, old. Scratch old out. That doesn't apply in this particular case. I'm sorry. I was looking at something else. Okay, so let's go to sequence. We're going to do this a little. They're basically the same. You can apply it either way. Okay, sequence is when you follow an order, follow something in a specific order. All right. So an arrangement, a progression, a pattern. Let's see, a part, an excerpt, a section, a segment. Order, of course, as I mentioned before, something, the antonym for some antonyms, a couple of other synonyms would be course, the course of events. Follow this course. You see this in video games all the time. However, antonyms for this would be disorganized, chaotic, in disarray, an interruption, inconsistent, inconsecutive. All right? Sequential, basically, you could apply those to that as well. All right? And for transform, change, alter, metamorphosis or metamorphosize, convert, remodel, mutate. It's a terrific one. Let's see. Again, transformations. Think about a frog, caterpillar, Frankenstein, Cinderella, Jackie Robinson, how he transformed the culture. He changed the culture. It didn't change him, right? The ugly duckling, how it transformed its attitude and became, by accepting himself or herself, right? Transformed his whole way of, instead of being down in the dumps, he was on top of the world. All right? Some antonyms for transform would be to be unchanged, to remain, to stay, to preserve, or to stagnate. Stagnate is probably the best vocabulary word as an antonym for transform. Okay? Or one of the best. This was a longer video because of some of the definitions in the homographs. This is probably going to be the last video that I'm ever going to make in terms of vocabulary, because after the new year, we are transforming vocabulary into a whole new concept. A whole new concept. The videos are not necessarily going to be necessary. It's more independence on your part. And I have every confidence that you guys are going to do a stupendous job. Truly, truly magnificent. With this and with other things. In terms of vocabulary.